It's actually quite nice. There's a good set of waves coming in. They're nicely formed, even on the outside. Folks are able to get it. There's a guy way out there. He's been getting some great rides. What's nice is that they're breaking nicely. The tide must be just so. And there's a couple of guys on the inside right there catching some waves. No big waves coming through right now, but they have been. It's been very nice. Anyway, let's do... Oh, there goes one. Let's do another book reading of Going Alone. I'll set the camera down and get started. Today I'm going to read from the chapter called The Good Life, which was the resultant consequence of the overall endeavor of going alone. I could call that my life's work, perhaps. There, that's a pretty nice view, I think. Maybe a little more to this side. See a little more of the water, huh? Good. I woke up not feeling so good this morning. It was because of an extra cookie that I had last night. Well, I probably shouldn't have had any of the cookies. Maybe one would have been plenty. Really have to begin to become more temperate in my endeavors with everything. Oh, now, I wish you could see it. That was a nice ride that he got. Anyway, so I'm going to read the chapter, or part of the chapter, of the chapter called The Good Life, which is the categorically arranged, itemized listing of all of the objectives and principles in the Good Life Creed, which is the result of all the effort of writing this book. Or really, it's the result of the effort of the experience that resulted in producing this book. I'm feeling better, though. I had a little bit of oatmeal, and that kind of settled things down. So here we go. The Good Life, and there's an image there drawn by my daughter Emily of a rock in the desert that says, "Nothing is enough." There we go. The Good Life, creating a life of meaning. And there's a quote: "Active in indolence, abroad who roam, in quest of happiness which dwells at home. With vain pursuits fatigued, at length will find its real dwelling is a virtuous mind." That's a quote from Dr. Zimmerman, and it's interesting that the good doctor laid emphasis on the words happiness and home by writing them in all capital letters. And this quote really summarizes the mission of this particular, and the message of this particular chapter, which is that after going alone, we then realize that it's home that is the place that we need, and deeper still yet, virtue. The Good Life meditation is my daily effort of recounting, considering, and developing my personal life objectives and principles. I perform this activity in the morning, usually on my way to work, as a start and readiness to the coming day, and as a reminder of the best life practices I have so far uncovered and made my own. With practice, the effort has become as familiar and refreshing as making and enjoying a hot cup of coffee, leaving me fortified and invigorated for whatever the day may hold. Note: I periodically record this activity on video to upload to a special YouTube playlist titled The Good Life. I recommend watching one of these videos for more in-depth coverage of each point, as well as personal examples of how I apply these objectives and principles to my own daily challenges. The playlist URL is included in the appendix. And by the way, I just made that video for this morning probably about 2 hours ago, and I do that. That's like a cadence and a routine that I have. I really never miss a day that I do that. Not even when I'm sick. At bare minimum, I do it in my mind. And if you find that playlist, each of the videos is there. If you see an asterisk, a mark at the end of the title, that means that's a video where I made the more in-depth effort. There are days that I don't do that. There are days that like this morning, where I just I say each of the objectives and principles and leave it at that. I prefer the days that I actually delve into them in more depth. And when I do delve into them in more depth, and if they come out, if the result is good, if there's little bits and pieces that are good, then I pull those out as snippets, and those are what wind up on my Stoic Poetry podcast. So it's kind of a three-step effort, right? There's the distillation, there's the recitation, there's the further effort of detail, and then there's the extraction into the podcast to hold on to that. Here we go. Affirmation of human and civil rights. And I don't do this in the morning part. I skip this part, although I should do it. I must recognize, respect, and abide the rights of individuals and the smaller groups within society, such that these are not compromised in the pursuit of the common good. The lesser among us shall not be neglected or trodden upon in service of the many. It's interesting that I use the word the lesser. It kind of comes across not quite the way I meant it. What I meant by that is the more vulnerable. And the reason that that's so important to place here is that I want to keep that in mind as a kind of like a rule, a foundation on which the decisions relative to the principles in pursuit of the objectives are made, so that we're not doing those in compromising the well-being of those that are more vulnerable. That's well put, I think, if I do say so myself. 7 objectives. Number 1, be always ready to die. Here's a quote, that we must all die, we always knew. I wish I had sooner remembered it. Dr. Johnson. At all times have every important life affair in order, my decided purpose, my household and finances, as well as my connections, obligations, responsibilities, and commitments. Have also my art in a state of readiness to carry on as my only real legacy and potential lasting memory after I am gone. My last photo taken, my last sketch complete, my final word penned and saved. No letters left to write, no goodbyes left to speak, no one left to hug. To be ready now and at a moment's notice to loosen my grip when life is done all at once, and then fall into darkness without a single backward glance or backward thought or longing, backward memory. So that paragraph summarizes the objective in that capacity. So that's what I mean when I say be always ready to die. Number 2, make good and effective use of time and resources. To make good use of these few moments right now, and to dwell very little on past utilization, other than to use such memory to inform my judgment in the direction of improved forward progress. To also make good use of whatever resources are at my disposal, not just for increase, but to spend, share, give, or apply these resources well, and in ways which are in accord with my life objectives and principles. Below are examples of some of the things I would like to be caught doing when death comes at last to utterly snuff out my light. And here's a list of things that I would love to be doing when death comes. I would consider that to be good and effective use of time at that moment, to be doing these things. I'll just list them out. Breathing slow and measured breaths. Controlling my emotions. Thinking and acting deliberately. Remembering and acting upon my responsibilities. Preparing a good meal. Eating well and very little. Helping others. Being attentive to my family. Providing good value to my employer. Learning something startlingly new. Reading an excellent book. Memorizing poetry which moves me. Studying history. Imagining the future. Enjoying good music. Listening to a good lecture, discussion, or debate. Challenging what I believe. Changing my mind for good reason. Admitting that I was wrong. Apologizing when necessary. Becoming uncomfortable. withstanding discomfort, suffering well and longer than I thought I could, standing, walking, swimming, or simply moving, making a pet happy, picking up litter, recording and sharing my own thoughts, accurately recounting the idea of another, sleeping deeply, discovering I am wrong, and remembering death. Okay, now for number 3. I can use my shoe as a pillow. Number 3. Develop and maintain good and sound life principles. I will secure early in life good rules to live by, objectives and principles which are accurate and true. I will then dedicate some time each day to using, testing, and refining these objectives and principles. Over time, I will make a small catalog of only the soundest truths I have found, which I will then number and recount each day for the purpose of further discovery and self-guidance. Finally, I will share what I have found through the example of my words and actions in my best effort of living a good and sound life. Number 4, cultivate good emotional reactions. I will take control of my emotions such that these inform my living more than control it. Feelings and reactions will then become life counselors rather than rulers and chiefs. Through this effort, I will create and reflect a life of equanimity through inward control and resulting outward peace. I will remember that life is lived as one upon a seashore, noting and living according to the tides, which fall now with feelings of low regard towards our purpose, and now with feelings of and meaning and well. Let me try that again. I will remember that life is lived as one upon a seashore, noting and living according to the tides, which fall now with feelings of low regard towards our purpose and meaning and well-being, followed later by rising spirits and outlook, with the fresh, clean flood flowing in, temporary, here for a very short season, before the ebb comes again to frustrate, confuse, and concern us in an always recurring cycle of lows and highs, and lows again once more. Just a second. Let me just soak up the sound for a second. Still not quite feeling totally well yet after last night's cookie. Thought I heard something. Just a second. Okay. Number 5, perform good actions. My deeds should be worthy of a life spent working to pass each day as an improvement, not only for myself and my family, but also for those with whom we share life now, as well as those in the future who will receive this common inheritance. Number 6, recognize true limits and true opportunity. I will strive to live life in honest recognition of my true scope of control, which extends no further than my thoughts, actions, and reactions, and the consequences these might entail. I will ask myself how I may craft favorable ends from any circumstance. What misfortune do I not have the power to fashion into some instrument of virtue? Is it death now at the door? Do not bar the way, for the hour of our meeting is truly at hand, and I will not attempt to detain in vain any will, force, or consequence which is truly beyond my control. And what role apathy in my discernment and feigned engagement with the universe beyond the scope of my own control? Number 7, one thing slowly. This is the last of the objectives. Do only one thing at a time and do that thing slowly. I will try hard to never take on two activities or entertain two thoughts at the same time. In addition, I will pursue each activity or thought slowly. If I find this limit difficult to maintain, then clearly I have accepted more responsibility than I can reasonably handle. Of course, there will be times I am unable to maintain this workload or ratio due to deadlines or other necessities. However, in hindsight, I will try to identify where I went wrong and how I managed to let my workload or responsibilities get so out of control that I had to multitask. I will do this in order to try and avoid making the same mistake in the future. I will then learn from my error and become more mature for the effort. The benefit of this objective may be self-evident in my improved ability to focus my attention on whatever is most important in the current moment. Moving and thinking slowly further improves these efforts by ensuring I make good and well-considered choices and actions which are less prone to mistake or costly redo. Over time, I will become able to do more with less and make better ends of whatever means I find and enjoy a more relaxed and considered living at both work and play. That's the end of the objectives. Just another few seconds to stretch and walk around. Feels so good here. Oh boy. Oh my gosh, I fell asleep. I think this is the first time I've ever fallen asleep while making a video. Oh, that felt good too. Oh boy. I went down deep. Oh, that was nice. Okay, I feel rested. Oh, these guys are just cleaning up the waves out there. Okay, I'm gonna walk around a little bit. It's almost warm enough to take this sweater off. Here we go. 31 principles. Well, it says 31, so this is an old copy of the book. There's 34 now. I really need to get a new copy. Oh, there's that couple. There's a guy and a girl that come here regularly and go surfing together. There they are. Okay, so I wonder which one is missing. Let's take a peek. Is it missing something at the end? Well, it's hard to tell. It's not like I add them right to the end necessarily. It ends 32 with the principle of fun. So there's two principles missing in there, but I don't know just where. Oh, here they're going to walk past us. 31, 34, should be 34 principles. 1, the principle of war. I seek to rise each morning, taking arms first against my own philosophy and beliefs, and secondarily against the philosophy and beliefs of others. I will suffer no unsound or unjust objective or principle to survive my honest, reasoned critique, no matter the consequence to my sense of peace, comfort, or abiding worldview. I will equally yield to the warfare of another against my precious truths, when these are shown to be unsound or dishonest in any way. Number 2, the principle of reason. The sub-principles here are honesty, objectivity, doubt, and humiliation. And there's a quote by Aristotle. The life of reason is best and pleasantest, since reason more than anything else is man. So too this life is also the happiest. Reason is my first instrument of reconciling hypothesis with truth. To be effective, I must be honest with myself and others regarding what I know and do not know. and make pains to view the world objectively, without coloring reality too much with imagination fortified of want, or need, or fear, or the normalizing pressure of authority, tradition, and unfounded consensus. Doubt is my default stance and starting point for every new venture of inquiry. And humiliation is my own realized folly. And humiliation of correcting my own wrongs. Reason at its best is a tool of self-immolation, turned first inward as I seek to burn away the chaff and waste of unprincipled living, and then outward in resistance to our species' less worthy answers to the mysteries of life. Number 3, the homunculus. There is an inward architecture of decisions and actions, which becomes the scaffolding structure of man or woman who others may dimly see when they look us square in the eyes, perceiving a light or darkness within which shines or empties in proportion to the effort we have made to not just live, but to live well, and in accord with our perceived nature and better inclination. We fail utterly when we build our inner world solely guided by the prescribed blueprint precedent of others, which guidance may suffice to create grand and stately outward living, but may leave us inwardly hollow and empty in the end, when we are alone within our outer world, and we look at what we have and do possess and have made, and we wonder what we have seemingly missed, and if somehow there may be more. Why are we so outwardly filled, yet so inwardly empty? Our home, then, a stable and impressive castle of outward success and seemingly worthwhile achievement and acclaim, resting upon an inner foundation of shifting sand. Number 4, the Anchorhold. The place where we suffer and die. There is an inward architecture which we create through the fact and consequence of our decisions and actions, which becomes the scaffolding structure of the inner man or woman who others may dimly see when they look us square in the eyes, perceiving a light or darkness within which shines or empties in proportion to the effort we have made to not just live, but to live well, and in accord with our perceived nature and better inclination. We fail utterly when we build our inner world solely guided by the prescribed blueprint precedents of others, which... Wait a minute. Oh, this is the... Hold on, is this the one? Yeah, okay, this is the one where I have this is an old, I've got to fix this. I've got to get a new copy of the book. This is the exact thing for the homunculus. I didn't quite realize it. The homunculus and the Anchorhold are very similar insofar as the homunculus is the inner man and the Anchorhold is where the inner man lives. So never mind number 4, I have to fix that. I have to get a new book because this copy's got a mistake. A grave and deadly mistake, deadly to the constitution of the book. Number 5, the home of good and evil. A catalog of right and wrong maintained by that little mortal within my head, containing both opinion and judgment, and suggestive of a platform of subjective responsibility. The homunculus owns this list and has the responsibility to develop and vet its contents, as well as reconcile these with the reasoned opinions of others. Good and evil then become perspective and opinions, dangerously subjective, yet also subject to the truth-finding powers of reason, honesty, and objectivity. Argument and discussion are the tools of reconciliation when such opinions differ, and consensus reached in this way has more authority and force than the proclamations and commandments of 1,000 fictitious gods. The principle of purpose. Sub-principles are biology, virtue, and mission. Activity in accordance, and here's a quote by Aristotle. Activity in accordance with virtue is virtue. Aristotle. My first purpose is to live and reproduce, before then dying and getting the hell out of the way. Beyond that, it is up to each of us to decide what our purpose will be. For myself, I select the purpose of virtue, where virtue is defined as a life lived in furtherance of the well-being of thinking things, and my missions are the series of goals I set for myself to achieve over the successive years of my life, I need to work on that, because as I'm preparing to go into the next stage of life, I need to make sure I have some goals for that. Some reasonable things that I want to use that time for. There's a couple of young guys coming. Number 7, the atomic principle. Sub-principles are dissolution and emergence. And a quote, "All things change to fire, and fire exhausted falls back into things," by Heraclitus. You have to keep that in mind, that old principle from back in the day when there were just the few elements that the ancients thought existed. Everything in the universe is bits and pieces, flowing and changing, forever transforming and becoming. So too you and me, here for a bit, soon to pass, soon to dissolve, never again this thing once more. Note, when remembering this principle, I will often pick up a handful of sand or dirt to let sift through my fingers in the blowing wind, just like that. I'm going to turn the camera around. You can see the guy fishing, right? I think. Oh, yeah, there he is. I'll turn around. You guys can watch the beach. It's kind of nice. Maybe I'll aim it at the surfers as I read the rest of this. Here. You should be able to see some of the surfers there. Number 8, the principle of nature. A beast tracked through the brush. That's a quote from a poem in the book. Path of Wildness is easy to find. Course of a stream, leaves blown in the wind. A beast's track through the brush, and the course of our first inclination. Everything and everyone has some qualities and character which define what they are and what they are about. This nature, combined with perspective and will, is their paradigm and operational guide. The demands of biology are a mandate deep and sound from the perspective of survival and the continuance of our kind. I ask myself at every chance, what is the nature of the things I will meet and interact with today? What are the natures of the people I know and with whom I share life? And what is my own nature? What am I made of and where am I going? Knowing these things will help me to engage better and more reasonably with everyone and everything. The pirate ride, the course of a stream. There is no good reason to imagine we are anything but atoms and molecules and compounds and organs and muscles and limbs and brains and mind, instantiated through energy borrowed of the sun and the internal heat of the earth, in alignment with the inertia of the universe. That is it. In a sense, a very crude sense, we are complex chemical reactions, natural processes unwinding through brief years, months, and days towards some conclusion which sufficiently powerful computer algorithm might one day plot and predict. We are decision engines, driven by the universe at large. In a sense, our destiny was always set, with our deliberations and decisions being just some distinct moments of seeming agency along our chemical unwinding from conception to death. A pathway we could hardly avoid or choose otherwise. A route decided not by us, but instead by the complex orchestrations of a universe which delivered us into life and mindlessly conspires during every moment we live to nudge and jostle us into every decision and action we vainly think our own. Life, a purposeless river-like meander. We live, we experience, we think, we decide, and we move, but never truly of our own volition. and always on the path of our law-bound chemical unwinding. Life, therefore, is like a theme park pirate ride, an unintentional horror, joy, and amusement in which the robot pirates and the living riders are one. We live our lives then along seemingly invisible tracks we can never jump or escape, for we lack utterly the will to do anything but stay our course. And though we can make any decisions we like, we can never have made any decisions other than the ones we did. You know what, I'll move the camera a little closer to the water. It's pretty nice down here, in fact. And I think I can take my sweater off now, too. Give me just a second. There goes a guy going out. Ooh, look at that guy. Look at those guys go. Nice. He's still going. That's good. Just moving my stuff a little closer here. What a splendid day. Okay, where was I? Oh yeah, I finished the pirate ride. The idea of no free will. Okay, next is number 10, the principle of maturity. Sub-principles here are wisdom, fortitude, and integrity. Maturity is a finely curated collection of experience, gained of life trials, both succeeding and failing, and recalled with some accuracy and honest consideration towards improved future ends. Wisdom is the soil where such considerations are plowed, while fortitude is the will and persistence to see the harvest through, and integrity maintains our sound constitution. Number 11, the social principle. Sub-principles are diplomacy, justice, and conspiracy. Human beings generally, wow, the sand feels warm. Human beings generally being in the world survive alone, though we rarely flourish in solitude. Actually, the water feels good. Though we rarely flourish in solitude, we risk that whatever standing in deep and persistent disconnect may not be easily communicated or translated to others, may become irrelevant babble despite perhaps being true. Therefore find one another, there's the message, and make good effort to be together and share ideas. Go alone at times, but always return to be with others. I will become a diplomat, an ambassador to not only the familiar, but also the strange and new. I will strive always with others towards sane and just ends. Become a man or woman of one another. We will conspire together towards what we perceive and decide as good. These are lofty goals, something I struggle daily to attain. Next is principles of really nice. This has been a change just in the last week. Public speaking. Sub-principles are best words, prudence, eloquence, rumor, and gossip. And a quote. To him that ordereth his conversations aright, will I show the salvation of God. Psalm 50:23. Speak and communicate always as though any person being spoken of is standing directly before us and attentive to our every word. In this way we shall not gossip or pass idle time at the expense of another. Use few words and just the right words to cautiously convey our meaning, avoiding verbal flourish unnecessary to our intent, or the adornment of our ideas with beautiful speech irrelevant to our Spartan meaning. Never spread stories or trade in the misfortune or folly of others. Wow, that's a big wave coming way up there, almost up to the camera. Wow, it came almost up to that guy's bike too. Wow. I wonder if the tide's coming up. Oh, that girl's out there. She's got that young woman. She got a nice ride. Oh, the woman passing in front of me. I see her almost every day, every week. Okay, here we go. Temperance. Sub-principles are suffering and simplicity, and it should be apathy too. In a quote, keep your tongue and your belly under control. Anthony the Great. Temperance is the controlled consumption of all things, such as food and drink, work and play, and even our thoughts and emotions. I will strive to recognize these consumables and measure out a reasonable portion for myself, and then strive to consume very little of that. Such worthy living naturally entails some suffering when we deny ourselves our wants, though a simple life makes this easier when the denial becomes part and parcel of our habits and conditioned response. I will then apply apathy towards the intemperance of others, as well as any misadventure. I will recognize my own excess and that of my peers, and then use, there's another big wave, and then use indifference as a buffer to prevent my consumption of the Feast of Offal. Oh, nice big wave. Wow, look at that. Oh, this guy's going for it. No, not quite. Number 14, life will not go well. I'll be damned if I don't nearly always stumble, trip, slip, or otherwise get bounced around, turned backwards, and have the hardest time keeping a straight line towards the objects and ends I set myself to reach or achieve. It's like life is this imperfectly evaluated landscape of changing textures, seasons, and weather, where winds suddenly gust from one side and slippery ice appears on the ground in a shady hollow, or lurking beasts stalk and jump from behind, and a friend hails us to the right and demands our time and attention, and our bodies complain and yield to fatigue. Disease and our ever-increasing weakness of capacity and uncertainty regarding want. That's a mouthful of a sentence. That we ever get anywhere we've set out for is an amazing feat, demonstrative of strong object principles, seemingly indefatigable will, and a wisdom arrived at by way of experience, reflection, and result. Hi. Life will not go well, but we certainly can if we try. How come you're not out surfing? Oh, it is a little, huh? Yeah. Number 15, the horror show. The recognized consequence of a universe unfolding beyond reach of our care or ministrations, and the awful evidence of that there is no overarching management or oversight beyond the descriptive record we make of how things operate, and the necessity which physics, chemistry, and time seemingly demand of us all. At last we stand with our hands at our sides and our mouths agape and our minds at wit's end as the unfolding tale of what is moves on without notice or care of what we want or think is good or right or simply humane. It just moves forward, leaving everyone behind. We will all be left behind. Number 16, that which must be borne. Sub-principle, hand on the tiller. Life presents with various burdens of many sorts, tasks, duties, responsibilities, as well as circumstances both apprehended and unexpected, which we must shoulder, lift, and carry despite our will, want, attitude, health, or even our desire. These are the things which we simply must do to fulfill our living mandate. Sure, some choose to not carry such burdens, though they do so not without consequence. Therefore, as long as that's an important one right there. Therefore, as long as this is what we must be and do and how we must live, then why not press forward with a smile and eyes lifted towards the sun and the stars and the light, which is the better part of our lives? Let us press on despite the weight, move forward in spite of our fatigue, and live on while mindful and feeling and suffering, even of our weak bodies, frail minds, and inevitable, consequent death. Steady on course, declares the master from deck. Hold the rudder tight against the wind and the current, and your fear and your doubt and upset and sense of drift and loss and ambush, even by the forces of seeming nature and the draw of the seeming fates towards the maelstrom at port and the siren rock starboard. I've always pictured the sirens to be starboard. Of course, that's an allusion to the Odyssey. Quick, declares the crew, lash, and here's more Odyssey reference. Quick, declares the crew, lash the master to the mast and unstop his ears before we ourselves shut up our own hearing with wax and through all our throw. Oh, it's got a typo here. That shouldn't be through, that should be throw. Let me make a mark. It's pretty rare that I find typos anymore after so many years of editing. Through, not throw. I hope I've got my yellow marker here. There it is. Through. There we go. Hey there. What's that? What's this? So I'm making a video. It's YouTube Live. So this is a live video on YouTube right now. And so that's the microphone that connects to the microphone here. So I'm doing a book reading. It's called softypapa. One word. Softypapa. Yep. I come down here every Saturday and read my book. You gonna check it out? Thanks so much. Take care. Okay, so where was it? That was cute. Lash the master to the lash. And there's another typo. This should be lash the master, not last the master. Two typos in a row. It's a common thing in my world. My world as a content creator. It seems like it's always young people that seem to find me, but then they sort of stick with me into their adulthood. I've had so many people tell me that they found my channel when they were like in their teens, and then they're still watching in their 20s, and it's like following the course of their lives, because they tell me that they were in school when they found me, and then they go to college, and then they get to start a career, and some of them have families. It's like, and they've been with me all this time. It's amazing. There goes that young person right there. Okay. Okay, here we go. Let's see if I can read this right. Lash the master to the mast and unstop his ears before we ourselves shut up our own hearing with wax and throw all our weight to hold the ship straight on course. Oh my gosh, there's another typo. I forgot to put a closing quotation mark at the end of the end of there. Everybody. Well, I'm glad I'm catching these things. I mean, how many? I hate to read it. To get secrets of the song of the demon sea hags, while keeping our vision and direction intact against their sway. Will we soon enough go down and drown within the sea, or will we? Or we? Of course we will. Not before we sail like men. There we go. I did it again. Wait a minute. Hold on. There's another error. Good thing I got the pen. All right. Wow. All kinds of stuff there. I remember writing this, and it was a very quick, rough, and impromptu. Can I use the word ejaculation of ideas? That's what it felt like. Okay. The Feast of Offal, the banquet of our suffering. And a quote, "A fool uttereth all his mind, but a wise man keepeth it till afterwards." Proverbs 29:11. This strange meal consists of the waste and byproduct of unreasoned and unprincipled living, which we discard like filth everywhere we live, think, and act. Every time we become confused, frustrated, upset, or angry, and we take pains to let all the world know, we are spilling out our personal offal onto the world, spreading the filth of our hot, raw emotions onto that sounds X-rated, onto everyone within range of our upset. The curious thing is that so many then take up the filth we flung at them to then consume it with seeming relish, making themselves immediately sick in the process and causing them to begin their own reciprocal feast of offal, and thus it spreads from one to another throughout the day and even at night while we dream our emotions into life, an awful banquet of filth, soiling deeply our peace and better living, poisoning our lives and the lives of everyone we know. I wish to cover my mouth and nose instead, to filter out the foul excess of undisciplined thought and living, to temper my emotions and my careless consumption of the emotions of others. The principle of distraction, and a long quote. What is the course of the life of mortal men on the earth? Most men eddy about, here and there, eat and drink, chatter and love and hate, gather and squander, are raised aloft, or hurled in the dust, striving blindly, achieving nothing, and then they die, perish, and no one asks who or what they have been, more than he asks what waves in the moonlit solitudes mild of the midmost ocean have swelled, foamed for a moment, and gone. Good golly. That's a quote by Matthew Arnold. I encountered that deep within Mr. Arnold's book, and I remember just being absolutely floored by it. Look at this guy cruising in. He's got his hat. He's got his beard. He's looking good. I used to wear a hat like that when I was a surfer, and I used to have a thin stomach like that too, but no more. Okay, at every turn in life we desire not to see. Oh, the water's so warm. Not to see. At every turn in life we desire not to see. We turn our heads to look, not away, but towards something which might cause us not to see. The thing we do not want is to observe the emptiness which resides behind and before, and between and within it all. We do not wish to sense the negative silence of the universe's apparent vacuum purpose. We do not want to know that death is forever, beyond a nighttime soon to come, which we can neither know nor avoid. And so we busy ourselves with school and work and family and friends and hobbies and interests and gossip and joy and sorrow and peace and gratitude and anxiety and angst and ecstasy and the very fact of the observance that we are alive. Anything at all will do. Anything to avoid the awful aspect and great indifference of a soulless universe without God. Yet more and more, I am less inclined to fill the empty with my own fearful, distracted voice. I am increasingly preferring substance to filler. The substance is harder to find and still harder to hold, leaving me often with nothing at all But I'm all right with that now. I'm at last better without the distraction of life, and death, I know, is not. 19. Agency and the Great Indifference. Every individual life is an agent, and the products of its living are its artifacts. Subtract these away, and what's left is the vast landscape of the Great Indifference, characterized by an incapacity to observe or maintain any thought or opinion towards well-being, an utter lack of regard towards joy or suffering, a godless backdrop of unthinking, inanimate substance and time. The best thing I have learned in whatever state I am, therewith to be content. St. Paul. Wow, there's a heck of a wave over. That's right. Head high. This place and time where I am now will suffice. I will have peace where and who I am at this time in doing whatever engages my necessity and motive and the pursuit of virtue. Meanwhile, I will also strive towards better ends for myself and others, not as a replacement of my current circumstance and work, but rather as a natural improvement upon these. The Restless Man. Sub-principle, diminished potency. And a quote. There are a lot of surfers out there right now. And the sky's clear. I can see all the way to San Pedro clearly. Here we go. Here's the quote. Traveling is one of my favorites of Ralph Waldo Emerson's. Traveling is a fool's paradise. We owe to our first journeys the discovery that place is nothing. At home, I dream of that at Naples, at Rome, I can be intoxicated with beauty and lose my sadness. I pack my trunk, embrace my friends, embark on the sea, and at last wake up in Naples, and there, beside me, is the stern fact, the sad self, unrelenting, identical, that I fled from. I seek the Vatican and the palaces. I affect to be intoxicated with sights and suggestions, but I am not intoxicated. My giant goes with me wherever I go. I can't tell you how many times I've cut and pasted that particular quote to share with so many young people who talk to me about how there must be someplace better than here, somewhere I can go to find satisfaction. If only I had not made those earlier bad choices, hadn't gone left when I should have better have gone right, or straight, or heck, even back. Any direction other than the direction I went, which led me now to this settled, safe, dull place. Oh, how I want something else. Maybe I can convince those I'm bound to here, the people who expect my life with them here, that there is some place better than here for us, for all of us. Maybe I can drag them all along with me, the spouse, the kids, the dog, and the cat. We'll throw away all this crap we've gained here to settle our restless ticking, these things which quell nothing for more than a day, gaining only further loss in the effort of acquisition. Oh, damn it all to hell. Why am I here? Why did I agree to this arrangement? Why can't I get away? This is what we think, and this is what we do when nature prompts us to new horizons. Nature has wired the young to press boundaries, to go beyond limits, and to cross over mountains to find new places where more and better might be found. This instinct and drive are one of the ways we survive. It's how humans spread across the globe. It's why we escaped extinction in one place while others of us lived on elsewhere. It's why we escaped extinction in one place while others of us lived on elsewhere. No, that makes sense. Not everyone is built this way. Men more. I could tune that sentence just a little bit, perhaps. Maybe I'll mark it. It's why we escaped extinction. What I mean is, it's why some went extinct while others went on elsewhere because they had been elsewhere. Not everyone is built this way. Men more than women, I suspect, but both sexes, to be sure. And there will be no peace to those who are so driven. The only peace being the arrival of old age. Expect some, ain't that true? Ain't that true? Expect some relief in the mid-50s or thereabouts, about the time in relative proportion to your waning bodily potencies. Yeah, that's so true. Wow. Until then, I've come to realize that even more and more since I wrote this the first time. Until then, suffer if you ignore the call to the path, and even then, suffer on. The Path of Wildness, Sub-Principles, Shadow Dividend, and Ulysses' Ride. And here's another quote from that poem. The direction of our first inclination. Here comes a heavy-duty wave. I gotta watch it. Some of these could push all the way up to the camera. At every life crossroads, I will assess the fact that a decision must be made and then determine how much time I have to make it, and then collect my facts and consider the options, and then decide at the appointed time if my facts are insufficient, and there really is no more time. And then I will listen to my gut instinct, let it have its say, and then perhaps move in that direction, confident in having made the best evaluation I could in a reasonable amount of time and with the resources and facts at my disposal. I will be all right with whatever outcome, even if the next end is death, and I will be aware of the hard benefits which come of such changes, the improvements which hurt but which can be had in no other way, the shadow dividend of the pain of change and the loss of what is no longer needed, and I will suffer well through the decided pathway, like Ulysses riding the storm and temptation which he chose for his own. 23. The Great Life and Leaves blown in the wind. And a quote. He who continues the same course of life in the same place will have little to tell. Dr. Johnson. Good one, Doctor. Embark when you are young upon that beckoning dream and adventure. Let it be the centerpiece and point of reference for the man or woman who you will become. Let the experience inform and guide your active philosophy as well as the development of your own living principles and standards. That's a great quote from Dr. Johnson. The risk of avoiding risk. Sub-principle, risk management. Life presents us with a variety of risks we must attend to. Our parents and society commonly warn us to get an education, find a good job, and then settle down to a safe and sane life with a worthy another. These are good, responsible things to do, but I will offer there are deeper risks which also need our attention. The risk of living a long and healthy life without allowing to develop and engage our deeper self, or experience life without much challenging adventure, or keeping too much distance from the risks which guard the deep rewards of discovery, maturity, survival, and growth. So attend to both types of risks, the practical aims of school, work, family, and money, and as well as the perhaps less practical, though often quite worthwhile risks of becoming and living the life of our dreams. And avoid the trap of managing risk to the extent of walling ourselves into our own safe, secure, and familiar coffin. There's plenty of time for death later. Sin and damnation, number 25. Sub-principles, falsity, credulity, faith, superstition, dogma, rumor, and gossip. It is a sin to invest our expectations with hope, which may be corrupted or foiled by fortune. It is also a sin to believe things without good reason, to acquiesce for the sake of comfort or security or peace, or to simply avoid the discomfort of not knowing. The penalty for this sin is damnation, in the here and now, which is the only time we will ever really have. Damned for our unreasoned want, damned for our unreasoned belief. Boy, did I pack the whole damn thing. There's a lot. Maybe 5 sentences. I'm pleased with that. I mean, it's nice to elaborate, but it's also nice to get it down in a concise manner. Okay, number 26, complete oblivion. The sub-principles here are no final reunion, no final reconciliation, and no final justice. And this water just feels afternoon and go for a swim. Here's a quote. So man lieth down till the heavens be no more. They shall not awake nor be raised out of their sleep. Job 14:12. Soon the light within the mind will wink out. My life will come to an end. The storehouse of my memory will lose its electricity, which is the means of its maintenance and growth. The columns of my mental library and lyceum will quickly crumble and fall. The roof cave in, the foundations turn to sand. The philosopher is gone, evaporated to atoms. There will be no last reunion with loved ones, no reconciliation of hard, careless, or misspoken words, no satisfaction of wanting justice. The whole thing blows away with the new morning's breeze. Man, another very concise one. That's the whole thing in one short paragraph. 27, the season of philosophy, and a quote. Philosophy wields her own authority. She appoints her own time and does not allow it to be appointed for her. Seneca the Younger. Think and record your thoughts while you can. See how the sun is fading now, dropping near the horizon? You will not survive the coming night. If you fail to record your words today, right now, they will never come again. Or maybe, if the words arrive again in some new form, some distant day hence, will you have the body, will, or constitution to record what you hear? That's a really grave warning right there. Will your mind still function well enough to put the words together in the correct order? Will you have enough energy then for the effort? That's a big one. Will your hands perhaps tremble too much, or your medicine dull your nerves, or your broken self simply refuse to cooperate? All real risks. Will you remain tuned to the muse? These are very real risks. Too many, I say. So instead, keep a pad and pencil handy now, or a recorder, or a camera, and pull yourself aside when the muse speaks. Attend to her words and prepare your thoughts and philosophy as best you can while you can. I want to add something here. I'm going to mark this to add. That is, I need to say something about the fact that, yeah, you can have these tools at the ready when the words come, but you also have to live such a life that will yield such words, right? I mean, if you don't give yourself a life of adventure, if you don't populate your mind with literature and the stories and music and inspiration, and mainly if you don't go out and then you say 28, bullseye aim. Our best ambition is to achieve our goals and objectives to the extent that we can feel our effort is complete. That is often a pretty high mark, even with a pessimist same. The fact is we often fall short, well short, or at least short enough to cause us to bluster or regret we even tried. I can change one word there. There's that one word. I'm using the word often too much there. I can adjust that a little bit. And there's really no time to lose. Okay, next is the uphill climb. 29. Sub-principle, the open ocean swim. I will rise each morning and turn my attention to the uphill grade, to the slope which leads up, to the path which resists my climb, yet yields ever widening horizons with each step forward. I will move forward and up. I will rarely stop, and I will never willingly go back or even cast a longing backwards glance at the places I've been or have left behind. Another way to look at this is from the perspective of my life by the sea, where sometimes I slip alone into the water to swim far out to the deep water and then along the shore. I know her. The water is deep out here, and the waves incessant, pushing me now up and then back and over and across as I make my best line along the distant shore. No matter how the sea might rock or jostle my body, I carry on. I keep swimming. And when a larger wave foils my attempt to take in a breath of air, filling my nostrils with salty seawater, I only sputter and spit and yet carry on. I swim through the sea with a steady resolve, apathetic to the sea, while nonetheless engaged upon and within it. This is the uphill and steady climb forward. This is the open ocean swim. Interesting how I wove those two together, the uphill climb and the open ocean swim, which I down that way is where I used to do those open ocean swims. Don't do them anymore though. Nice wave over there. Arena and utility. Every place and situation are an opportunity to practice and refine your objectives and principles. Ask yourself at every point through the day what utility and good end might be found for the employment of your reason and philosophy, which must be forever alert, skeptical, and alive. Active, that is, not alive. 31, this is the last one, no, 32, second from the last. Nothing is enough, not relying on things for our well-being. And a quote, Frugality is not only the basis of quiet, but of beneficence. Of course, Dr. Johnson. That would be a fun game, is to read these quotes without knowing who the author is and then guess who the author is. We start out life in pursuit of whatever might satisfy our aching desire to become sated at the banquet of life. Education, career, friendship, family, and belief are each in turn stuffed into the yawning crevasse, opening onto an indifferent universe, hard at work exchanging order for night, a cosmos incapable of sympathy to our plight, without pity for our pain, and no awareness or interest in our dreams. We try and we try, doing everything we think we should, to no avail and no relief. Nothing ever enough, nothing ever being quite enough, until one day we realize that we are saved when we discover that nothing is enough. Big set over there. Last one, the principle of fun. Sub-principles, hope and retrospect. And a quote. Then I commended mirth, because a man hath no better thing under the sun. Ecclesiastes 8:15. Along the way, we might become overly focused on the pursuit of living well, such that we neglect to enjoy the fact that we are alive. Be gay, be jolly, have fun, find friendship and community and family and things to do, which might make us smile and laugh and sleep well and hard and with a smile on your face. Yeah, your face. Live such a life that the mortician must ask your heirs if they wish him to wipe the death mask grin from your face before the funeral service begins. Maybe should I say countenance there instead of face? Yeah. Bring to your death a good and happy life. Bring to your death a good and happy life, as a warm, fading spark of light, and life glowing down into the seemingly infinite sea of darkness and gloom. Let me read that one again. Bring to your death a good and happy life, as a warm, fading spark of light and life, glowing down into the seemingly infinite sea of darkness and gloom. Yeah, that'll do. Okay, I'm going to stop there. There's more to this chapter. There's the today's action and thought plan, and then there's the section where I have the notes from the muse, but I think we've been at this long enough for today. Let's see if there's any comments before I close out. Shoop. Hi, message from Robert. They told me I was nice to put a face to my beautiful words. It was the nicest compliment I've ever accepted, imperfectly, but I'm only human. That we all are, right? Okay, take care everybody. Have a great day. Be safe but not too safe. Bye-bye.